So I want to talk to you, pivot just for a second. We talked a little bit earlier about some of the people that you described that you had met that were friends or associates of Mr. Zachary. Remember that?
Yes.
And you and Mr. Zachary, you dated for multiple, or did you date for multiple years?
I believe so.
Okay. And in the times that you and Mr. Zachary dated, can you describe for the jurors, did he, based on your personal knowledge, hang out with Mr. Williams, Jeffrey Williams, on a number of occasions?
Objection, hearsay.
Overruled.
You want me to answer that?
Yes.
I've never actually seen him with him.
Let me ask you this question. Did, you're familiar with social media, Instagram,
Objection
Facebook?
to the leading question.
Are you familiar with,
Overruled. Well, yeah.
are you familiar with social media like Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, things like that?
Yes.
And do you have those things?
Yes.
And did Mr. Zachary back then also have Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all of those good things?
I believe so.
And in the number of years that you were in a relationship with Mr. Zachary, did you see photographs of Mr. Zachary and Mr. Williams together?
Yes, but I didn't think he knew him then.
Okay. Well, when you saw, your testimony is you saw photographs where they were hanging out, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And
Yeah, no, I'm going to object. That's a mischaracterization of the witness's answer.
I'll rephrase. Were they hanging out in the photographs?
I don't know if they was hanging out. I'm not sure. I wasn't there, but it was a picture of them together.
Okay. And did you see pictures of the two of them together on multiple occasions?
I believe so.
Okay. And in the times that you were in a relationship with Mr. Zachary, did he travel with Mr. Williams?
Objection, hearsay.
I don't remember.
Rephrase.
Were there times when Mr. Zachary was traveling and you and Mr. Zachary be on a FaceTime call and you would see...
Objection to that leading question.
Did you FaceTime Mr. Zachary when he was traveling?
I don't remember.
Okay. Do you remember telling the agents that there were times that you would FaceTime Mr. Zachary when he was traveling?
I believe so, but I don't remember actually FaceTiming him while he was traveling.
Okay. Well, do you remember in the recording that you listened to, you described FaceTiming with Mr. Zachary at times?
I believe so.
And in one of the occasions that you described, or do you remember one of the occasions that you described FaceTiming with Mr. Zachary that he was traveling with Mr. Williams?
I don't remember.
Okay. And do you remember, would you dispute that you said that during the recording that you listened to?
Can you repeat that question?
Would you, in the recording that you listened to, if that's in there, would you dispute that? Would you say that isn't true?
Are you asking would I say that it's true that he was traveling with Mr. Williams?
Yes.
I don't know.
Okay. And do you remember during that interview you also talked about times that you dropped Mr. Zachary off at the studio and Mr. Williams was there?
Objection calls for hearsay. It's leading and speculation.
Sustained to leading.
So let me break that down. Were there times during your relationship with Mr. Zachary that you dropped him off at different studios?
I don't remember.
Okay, do you remember telling the detectives that was something that you would do?
I believe so.
And do you remember telling the detectives on at least one occasion when you dropped Mr. Zachary off at the studio, Mr. Williams, you saw Mr. Williams?
I don't remember.
Okay, you don't remember telling the detectives that?
I remember listening to it and seeing it, but I don't remember seeing him.
So you heard yourself say that?
I did hear myself say that.
Now, during that interview with the ATF agents and the Atlanta Police Department, God bless you. Scared me. Now, you talked about other firearms that Mr. Zachary had given to
I'm going to
other
object to the
friends?
leading question.
Overruled.
You can answer the question.
Can you repeat the question? I'm sorry.
Yes. Do you remember talking and telling the agents and the detectives in September of 2015 about other firearms that Mr. Zachary had given to other friends?
I do, but I don't remember any other firearms.
Okay. And when you say I do you remember hearing yourself say that when you listened to the recording?
I do.
Okay. And do you remember hearing yourself say during that interview and on the recording that he gave?
Your Honor, I'm going to object. It's based on hearsay.
I might have to look at the recording, the
Okay.
interview.
State would say that it's accepted into hearsay because it's impeachment due to a prior inconsistent statement of Mr. Zachary.
Same objection. There's no predicate for impeachment by an inconsistent statement.
Yeah, that's our issue that we discussed up here.
Well, can we approach?
Sure.
Telling the detectives during the interview in September of 2015 where you described that Mr. Zachary and Mr. Williams were friends. Do you remember saying that?
I don't remember saying it, but I remember hearing it.
Do you remember hearing yourself say that?
Yes.
Okay. Do you also remember or hearing yourself say and describe that Mr. Zachary and Mr. Williams traveled to places like Miami on multiple occasions?
I
I'm going
remember.
to object, again, on the grounds of hearsay.
Overruled.
He has personal knowledge.
Well, I sustained as to that. I
Do you
assume that's
remember-
what you're asking.
Do you remember telling the detectives and the agents that you had personal knowledge that Mr. Zachary and Mr. Williams traveled to Miami on multiple occasions?
I don't remember.
Do you remember hearing yourself say that?
I do.
Now, I want to bring your attention to January 12th of 2015, okay? Do you remember talking to the detectives and the agents about an incident that happened at the Crystals off of Cleveland Avenue?
I do.
Okay, and can you tell the jurors who is Antrivia Smith?
My cousin.
Okay, and can you tell the jurors around that time in 2015 in January, was your cousin Miss Smith dating somebody that you knew by the nickname Kel?
I don't know who she was dating at the time.
Okay, and do you know or did you know someone who you referred to as Kel?
I don't.
Do you remember talking to the detectives and officers with the Atlanta Police Department about somebody you knew by the name of Kel?
I do.
Okay, and can you tell the jurors, do you remember going to that Crystals to meet your cousin, Miss Smith, around 1 o'clock that morning on January 12, 2015?
I do.
Okay, and can you tell the jurors, were you driving?
I don't remember.
Okay, were you with anyone?
I believe so.
Okay, do you know a person with the last name Miss Anderson?
I do.
Okay, and do you remember talking to me yesterday about the fact that she was in the passenger seat of your car that night when you went to the Crystals to meet your cousin?
I do.
Okay, and can you tell the jurors what you remember when you got to the Crystals that you did?
I remember pulling up on the side of my cousin, and me and her was talking and playing, and then we heard gunshot.
Okay. And can you tell the jurors, you said you heard gunshots. Do you remember talking to the
A gunshot.
Okay. Do you remember talking to the detectives and telling them where the gunshot came from?
I do.
Okay. Can you tell the jurors?
I believe I told them that the guy in the passenger seat had shot the gun.
Okay. And in the passenger seat of whose car?
My cousin.
Ms. Smith?
Yes.
And can you tell the jurors, I guess, who that person was in the passenger seat of your cousin's car, Ms. Smith?
I don't know him, so I don't know, but they told me that it was the guy that she was dating.
Well, I don't want you to tell me what anybody else said, but let me ask you this question. Do you remember telling officers that responded that night, as well as agents and other detectives on September 18th of 2015, that the person in the passenger seat of your cousin's car was someone that you knew by the nickname Kel?
I do.
And do you remember hearing yourself on that recording and from that night on January 12th, describing to them how you had just requested him on Instagram?
I do.
And do you remember providing them with the Instagram handle for Mr. Kell?
I do.
Okay. And do you remember the Instagram? Do you remember what Instagram handle you told the officers and the detectives what Mr. Kell's handle or ID was?
I believe. I don't know.
Okay. You think you believe so?
I don't really remember.
Okay. Well, can you describe for the jurors or tell the jurors the handle that you remember giving to the Atlanta Police Department that night?
I think it was like BMG something. I don't remember.
Okay. Do you remember it being BGC MB_ Shell Kell?
Probably so.
Okay. And can you tell the jurors what kind of car was your cousin driving that night? Do you remember?
I don't.
Do you remember telling the officers that responded that your cousin was in a red Pontiac Grand Prix?
I don't.
Okay. And can you tell the jurors after the officers arrived, after the shooting incident, well, first, were you injured?
I was not.
Okay. And can you tell the jurors after you spoke with the officers where you went? Do you remember?
I don't remember where I went.
Okay. Do you remember telling them and talking to me yesterday about the fact that you went to Mr. Zachary's home off of Cleveland Avenue that we talked about today, where he lived with his mom?
I believe so, but I don't remember where I went.
Okay. And do you remember telling the officers and talking to me yesterday that when you got to Mr. Zachary's apartment that early morning, that Mr. Zachary wasn't there?
I believe so.
Okay. And do you remember what you told the detectives and what you told me yesterday as to where he was on January 12th of 2015?
I believe I said Miami.
Okay. And do you remember telling the detectives that you knew he was in Miami because that's when you had FaceTimed him earlier that day, and he was in Miami?
Probably so.
Okay. Now, can you tell the jurors how you know someone named Miss Alexis Bryant?
That's Quindarius' cousin.
Okay. And back in 2015, was that somebody that you would consider a friend or you'd hang out with?
I guess, like, yeah.
Okay. Was she somebody that you had hung out with or been with on more than one occasion?
Yes.
Okay. And had you been to her home in the Eagles Nest apartment complex before?
Yes.
And about how many times do you think you had been to her apartment?
I don't remember.
More than one?
Probably so.
Okay. And can you tell the jurors, have you ever been to a club here in Atlanta called Club Crucial?
I have.
Okay. And is that somewhere you had been more than once before April 28th, 2015?
Probably so.
Okay. Well, was that a spot that you and Mr. Zachary and his friends, whoever it may be, would hang out on, I guess, a monthly basis or more than once a month?
I guess you could say that.
Okay. Now, do you remember talking to the detectives back in September of 2015 about a fight that you saw at Club Crucial on April 28th of 2015?
I do, but I don't remember a fight. I remember hearing it, but I don't remember a fight.
Okay. And when you were listening to that recording, do you remember telling the detectives that the fight?
Objection to the leading question.
Do you remember telling the detectives that Mr. Garlington was jumped that night?
I remember hearing myself say that.
Okay. And you remember hearing yourself say that you actually witnessed the fight?
I remember hearing myself say that.
Okay. And do you remember during that recording, who you told the detectives kind of jumped in to help Mr. Garlington when he was being beat up?
I remember hearing myself say Antonio Sledge.
Okay. Do you remember also telling the detectives that person you knew as Tay jumped in to help as well?
I don't remember telling. I remember hearing myself say it. So I remember hearing myself say that.
Okay. And can you tell the jurors, how do you know Tay?
I don't remember how I know him.
Okay. Do you remember telling the detectives that you knew Tay through Miss Bryant?
Probably so.
And telling the detectives that Tay was Miss Bryant's boyfriend?
Probably so.
And can you tell the jurors what you remember saying or what you remember hearing yourself say in that recording after the fight was broken up, what you did?
I don't remember what I said.
Do you remember telling the detectives that at that point you were leaving the club? Remember that?
Probably so.
And can you tell the jurors what you remember telling the detectives happened as you were leaving Club Crucial?
Your Honor, I'm going to object to this line of questioning. I believe it's appropriate to ask what happened before we ask what she said.
Do you remember what happened when you walked out of Club Crucial that early morning on April 28th of 2015?
I do not.
I don't know what it is. It's not me. I'm not wearing one. Do you remember, so you said you don't remember what happened when you walked out to the parking lot of Club Crucial?
I don't.
Do you remember hearing yourself on that recording describe to the detectives and the agents what happened?
Kinda, yes.
Okay, what do you remember hearing yourself say?
I believe I said I went to Alexis Bryant's house.
Okay, and what did you tell the detectives happened before you went to Miss Bryant's house?
I don't remember.
Because you don't remember telling the detectives and then talking to me yesterday and telling me that when you were in the parking lot, a shooting happened at Club Crucial.
No, I don't remember telling you that either yesterday.
Okay. And now you said after you left Club Crucial, how did you get to Miss Bryant's house?
I don't remember.
Okay. And when you say you went to Miss Bryant's house, is it the same apartment that we talked about a little earlier that you had been to on multiple occasions?
Yes.
Okay. And can you tell the jurors who was at Miss Miss Bryant's house when you went there that early morning on April 28th?
I don't remember.
Do you remember Alexis being there?
Not really, but I'm pretty sure she was there.
Okay. Well, do you think that you went to Miss Bryant's house by yourself?
No.
Okay. Did you have a key to Miss Bryant's house?
No.
So in order to get in, would Miss Bryant or somebody she lived with have to let you in?
Yes.
Okay. And you got into her apartment that morning, right?
Yes.
Okay. And do you remember how long you were at Miss Bryant's home?
I don't.
Let me ask you this question. You said you don't remember, but how do you know that you were there?
Because I remember I was there.
Okay, so you remember that part?
Yes.
Okay. Now, can you tell the jurors while you were there what happened that early morning at the apartment?
I was asleep. I was drunk, sleep, and I woke up to a call from Quindarius, and he told me.
Don't tell me what Mr. Zachary told you. Just tell me what you remember hearing or what happened at the apartment that you physically observed or heard.
I heard gunshots.
Okay. And do you remember how many gunshots you heard?
No.
All right. And is that what woke you up, the gunshots?
The second time, yes.
Okay. And after you heard the gunshots, can you tell the jurors kind of what happened or what was going on inside of Miss Bryant's apartment? Do you remember?
What you mean?
Well, did you get up? Did you leave? Did you go back to sleep? What did you do after you heard gunshots?
I don't remember what I did. I just remember waking up the next morning at my mom's house.
Okay. And, well, let me ask you this question. When you heard gunshots, do you believe, do you remember if it was more than one, two, was it multiple?
It was multiple.
Okay. And did hearing the gunshots, or the gunshots that woke you up the second time, did that surprise you? Like, were you expecting to hear gunshots that night?
No, but it didn't surprise me either.
Okay. Why not?
It just didn't.
You said it just didn't. Can you explain to the jurors why it just didn't surprise you?
Objection as to relevance.
Because
Overruled.
I wasn't scared, so it didn't surprise me.
Did any of the gunshots that you heard, did they come into Miss Bryant's apartment?
I don't remember.
Okay. Did you talk to any police after you heard gunshots that early morning?
I don't remember, honestly.
Now, let's talk a little bit about something that you listened to in the recording with the agents in September of 2015. Can you tell the jurors, do you remember talking to them about Donovan Thomas or Nuts murder?
I believe I heard myself say something about it.
Okay. And do you remember talking to the detectives about where Mr. Zachary was when Mr.
I'm going to object to the hearsay. That it calls for hearsay.
It doesn't. The answer does not.
Okay. I'll listen to the rest of the question and then make a determination.
Do you remember talking to the detectives about how you knew where Mr. Zachary was when Mr. Thomas was killed?
Okay, overruled.
I believe so.
Okay, and do you remember telling the detectives that he was actually...
Objection to the leading question and that it calls for hearsay.
Do you remember what you told the detectives as to why you had personal knowledge of where Mr. Zachary was?
I do.
Okay, can you tell the jurors?
I was with him.
Okay, and when you say you were with him, were you at his house, your house? Do you remember?
I don't remember.
Okay, and do you remember talking to the detectives about how you had personal knowledge of where Antonio Sledge was during that time?
I do.
And can you tell the jurors a little bit about that, how you knew where he was?
I believe I told them that they were on FaceTime together.
Questions for this witness by any of the defense attorneys?
1 second, please, Judge.
Sure.
No questions for Mr. Williams.
Anyone else? All right, Ms. Good, thank you for your time. You're excused. Call your next witness.